Keep in mind, for the public, this is a combined meeting. We have a work session in here, then we go into the big room where we have our public meeting, at which point we will take public comment. Our first guest is our borough engineer, who is here to talk about the first item on the agenda, which is the demolition of 5 South Summit Street. Andy, you want to come up to the table? Sure. Sorry?
There was a memo attached.
Yes.
To that item.
Hopefully everybody got the latest memo today.
Where is it?
Which is a break, there's a
No,
break.
it's linked.
It's all,
You have to just refresh your browser.
I have to.
it's a breakdown of the cost. There was a question as to why this project would cost as much as
Yes.
it's going to cost. And Andy, do you want to go over it quickly, and then let anybody who wants to ask questions, they can?
I do. So 5 South Summer Street, it's an existing building that's not occupied anymore. There's 6 or 8 parking spaces on the site currently. Pavement's in okay condition. The sidewalk in front is not in bad condition. The building itself has an odd foundation. The foundation probably comes up this high off the ground. It's extra thick. It's probably 24 inches thick. And the building at one point was bigger, but part of it burned down, so there's probably some foundations under the ground next to that. We did test the building for asbestos and lead. We did find asbestos in it, so the first thing to do is abate the asbestos, which we put a cost of $9,000 on that. Literally, that includes cordoning off and getting it out or abating it. The guy's got to mobilize. He has to provide adequate protection for asbestos, because asbestos can get friable, which means it flies out in the air. He's got to remove it, and then he's got to dispose of it as a hazardous material. As I said, it's $9,000. Task 2 is to demo the building once that's done. So demolition of the building, though it's a very small building, and it probably looks like you just knock it over with a backhoe. In the world of government, we can't just do that. We have to take the building down piece by piece, recycle all the necessary components from concrete to wood to wiring, spread it all out, dispose of it all, pretty much all as either contaminated or hazardous materials, get it below the pavement section. In doing that, you're going to disturb all the pavement and sidewalk around it. That process will take 2 to 3 weeks, and that's going to be about $20,000 to do that. The site restoration, which seems like a relatively high number, it's higher because when we take that building out, it's going to disturb everything around it. This massive foundation's got to at least be cut down below the surface. When the trucks are working around it, they're going to break the pavement up, which is not a substantial pavement section. The sidewalk will have to be replaced in front of the building. And then we planned on repaving, ripping up the pavement that's left, repaving the whole parking lot, and creating what we believe will be about 10 parking spaces. So you have 10 new public parking spaces.
In addition to what's there?
No, you have. I think it's 6 or 8 spaces now. I think there's 6 marked, but you can fit 8 cars. So you'll gain a couple more. So you have either. I know you can get 10. You might be able to get 11 or 12.
Oh, so you're talking about a gain of 2 to 4 spaces.
2 to 4 spaces. There's a mature tree in the back. I don't necessarily want to take that tree out. It's a nice sized tree, but if you take that out, you can get a couple more. But I don't know if it's worth sacrificing a tree for the parking. Council will have to look at that at some point. That'll be about $20,000. I broke it down in steps. Demoing the parking lot's about $5,000. Then preparing the parking lot with a stone and filling the foundation areas will be about $10,000. And then striping it and doing the sidewalk in front will be about $5,000 for 20.
So as you can imagine, to the layman, and I think most of us at the table are laymen, the total cost of this project seems a little absorbent. But what you're telling us, due to the nuances and due to the legalities, that you're not going to be able to get this job done for less than this?
We're not. As you realize, we're a municipal agency, so all the regulations and rules of demoing, building, and disposing of materials, we have to follow everyone. We don't have any shortcut. We can't find our cousin's property 3 miles away and dump stuff there. Everything's got to be tested, disposed of properly, sorted out, recycled as required to be recycled. We have to pay prevailing wages. For us, it's a full project.
Okay. The last question that I have is, you mentioned a tree, which if the tree was removed, you might get another 2 spaces. I would ask the members of the governing body to look at that, because I would assume there's some cost involved with removing the tree, but at the same time, you're getting 2 more parking spaces. And then I think as a body, we can decide sooner rather than later, since it would be part of this project, whether or not we want to take that tree down.
Well, we have some questions.
Yes, sure.
Our engineer. This so-called demolition, does it have to be put out for bid?
The project is over $40,000, so the project as a whole should be put out to bid, in my opinion.
Okay, so if we put it out for bids, and in the process of bidding it out, we specify what needs to be done,
Would you?
we get the answers on, so you said that our DPW cannot be involved in doing that?
The DPW couldn't remove the building.
Why not?
The building requires a certain level of protection, it has asbestos in it, so you need to bring in
Well,
somebody.
once we remove once after we spend $9,000, the asbestos is removed, we have no more problem, no protection. It's just a junk building that we have to tear down. Why is it a special thing?
You know, I mean, it's really a question for Bob. I don't know if our DPW guys are trained in building demolition.
They're not?
I mean, I don't know
Okay,
if
so we
I don't
can
even know
ask,
if your insurance
so we
covers
can
it.
ask
Well,
Bob.
the answer
Bob-
from our administrator is that
trained
they're
in-
not trained in building demolition, which
That's not
isn't
their field.
surprising.
Okay, but once the building is basically depleted of all the asbestos, it's just becoming a shop that has to be taken apart.
That's not necessarily, I mean, I don't wanna, again, I'm trying not to nominalize it. The building itself is a wood structure, it has a lot that's associated with it, it has a concrete foundation, it has all kinds of wiring, it has all kinds of mold and other things in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's treated as a contaminated object. which I
Once
don't
we
believe your guys are trained for.
decontaminate it from asbestos, mold is not an issue when you take apart the building.
The person who does demolition is gonna have to know how to water it down properly. There's a certain process they follow, which I don't believe your DPW guys know that process. But I can't, you're asking me questions I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to. I don't know the
But our
answer to.
administrator is shaking her head that
No,
they
they're not
don't
trained
normally do
in that
that.
area.
I think every one of our professionals is quite eager to put this project to bed as inexpensively as possible. You know, and once again, I understand why you're questioning the numbers, because they seem out of whack.
Wow.
But on the other hand, that's why we have professionals to give us an answer. It will go out to bid.
Yeah, it might come in cheaper.
So it very well could come in cheaper, but the bidding will have all of these specs in it, and it will be up to our professionals to make sure that whoever's bidding meets those specifications.
I mean, I bid-
If it comes in cheaper, great.
I bid a house in another community that's probably twice the size of this. And it had a foundation that had to be filled in. And we went out to bid for it, and the mayor and council members in that community went crazy. It came in at like $180,000. They're like, that's impossible, it's just a little wood structure. And we went out to bid again, and it came in the same number, and we brought the contractor, he said, listen, everything's gotta be recycled, it's gotta be separated, I need all kinds of licenses, I gotta take certain precautions with air monitoring, and there's it's more than I understand, but it's not, a municipality just can't go in and just knock it down and let the dust fly over, you just can't do that, it's not permitted anymore. Those days are over.
Mark?
So, I understand the asbestos completely, I get that, it's $9,000. But the building, I just watched the building in Englewood, on Engle Street and Demarest Avenue. It was probably a little bit bigger than our post office here. They took the building down with one big excavator, it took them only 3 days. They did all the recyclables, separated it, and by day 6, they were doing new site work. The whole building was gone. So it's very difficult for you to understand with that type of equipment, how it would take someone more than 30 minutes to take that building down after watching it done. And I've been in the construction business, it seems like an inordinate amount of time and money at $20,000 to take a building like that down.
Based in build and demo on other buildings we've had demoed, we bid before. I'm not a building demolition guy. We're gonna bid it for you. And me personally, I believe that's a pretty good number. We might bid it and it may come in half. I don't think so.
So
There's-
are we able
The
to
good
re-
news is that it's gonna go out to bid.
Yeah.
So we're able to reject the bids if we're
Absolutely.
not happy with them for any
Absolutely.
reasons?
Absolutely, yeah.
But on the other hand, I think we've agreed that this building should come down.
I think we all agree on that.
That's not an
We all
issue.
agree on that
Okay,
issue.
so let's go out to bid and see what the
See
numbers
what
are.
comes
Dan?
back.
Yeah, this is only an estimate. You have to understand. We didn't get any
We're
quotes
not,
for
we're
it.
not spending any money yet.
No, we're not gonna shoot the messenger.
Yeah, I know.
Why not? Isn't that our
So,
job?
when you say fill the foundation, that means where there was a house, now it's just gonna be flat.
Yeah, there's no basement in there. Again, for some reason, somebody constructed a wall from ground up that's literally 24 inches thick, 4.5 feet high, and that goes down to some level. So you're gonna have to break it.
Right, right.
They'd probably bring a crusher in, crush it, snap it, cut it below grade, some level, at least a foot or two below grade, take the whole floor out, fill it in with stone, and then repave over. It's a lot of concrete. I mean,
Right,
concrete's
right.
You
removed.
know
as
what is
hazardous
really
material.
unusual is a building was done and finished up in 3 days, which is 3 times bigger. Here we have 2 to 3 weeks. I cannot imagine what somebody will do.
No.
Well, I would tell you this, I've seen houses up on the hill that were relative mansions come down in less than a day.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
Exactly.
but on the other hand, this guy works for one of the largest engineering
Yeah.
firms in
Yeah.
New Jersey.
But they make
I-
a living
I-
out of it.
What?
They make also a living out
I,
of it.
I'm not making any money on this. I'm just trying to give you a number. I'm just trying to give you a number of what it's going to cost. You know,
Yeah.
from an engineering,
All right.
from a project,
Let's not go
from
there.
a
Let's see,
project
let's see what
perspective.
the bids come
Yeah,
back at.
exactly. This is a bit.
Anything else on this,
Let's hope
folks?
they don't come out.
Thank you for
way
coming in,
higher.
Yeah.
appreciate it.
More than 49.
Yeah,
You
no.
can tell. Okay, let's go on to the next item. What
Did
we
you
have-
have any other
Anything else,
questions?
right?
No, I don't think
Usually
so.
when Andy is here, if there's anything.
Anything else for the borough
No, thanks for
engineer?
coming in, we appreciate it.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you.
While you're here, Andy, I just want to bring up a quick issue, and that was, we had a discussion with a contractor about curbing.
Curbing?
Yeah, he presented a plan, he's doing a rebuild up east of Engle Street. He presented a plan that, to redo the house with concrete curb in front of it. Then he came back after the plan was approved and said, you know what, it's gonna be a really nice house, I'd like to put Belgian block there. The discussion was, well, most of the street has concrete, or if not all of the street has concrete curb. Actually, there is another house across the way that has Belgian block, another rebuild. So the question is, do we want the concrete curb to kind of be the same material as the rest of the curb, or are we gonna let them put a new curb in? Obviously, Belgian block, which is much more expensive, is much more eye appealing. Aesthetically, it's very nice. But how does
What
it
is
look
Belgian block?
when you got concrete on both sides?
Very nice.
Is it for the side,
It's just
for
for
the
his-
sidewalk?
No, it's,
Just for
there's
the
no
sidewalk.
sidewalk
There's no
involved.
So what is
Just a
the
curb.
His
Curb.
curb in front by the street, his curb.
I wanna give you the answer that we came about, and that is, I observed new concrete curbs on streets where the rest of the curbing was old concrete curbs. It stands out like a sore thumb, just as bad as Belgian block. And Belgian block, I think, is much more attractive.
It is definitely
So-
more
But
attractive.
once you do that, who's gonna maintain it?
The homeowner is
Oh,
responsible
the
for
owner
curbing,
is,
and if there's
And
sidewalk,
sidewalks.
Yeah,
okay.
there's no sidewalk.
So-
there.
I think to me, it's a relative no-brainer. But I just thought since he was here,
Yeah, I agree
and we
too.
had that
No, I
discussion.
think go for the Belgian block.
Whatever
makes
it
sense.
It looks so much
I
nicer.
agree.
Whatever
Thank
the
you.
owner
Thank you,
wants.
Andy. No hockey questions.
You're welcome.
Susan is here for which item?
Have a great night.
Thanks, Andy.
Susan is here for which item?
The budget,
Okay, okay, so she's gotta stay then.
yes, we'll be ready.
I was gonna try and get you out of here early.
Thanks.
The next item on to be considered is the historic preservation recommendation designation of 19 Peter Linus Court. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
I think that that's a good request to preserve the history of the town. The only thing I'm trying to make sure is that here we're talking about subdivision, and there are a lot of variances required to the subdivision. I was wondering if that should not go first to the zoning board to make the decision on the subdivision, and we will have no problem with declaring the historic property if the zoning board decides that the subdivision can be done, or the planning board or so, given all the changes that they want, I will have no problem with approving the historical nature of the home. I'm just trying to make sure that we are not so well trained in deciding on the subdivision with all the variances that are required in this application.
Well, I think your point is well taken, and I think that it might make sense to get a recommendation from the planning board. This is on the agenda for the planning board. Paul?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think we're trying to just kill all the birds with one stone. At this point, they still have to pass the muster of the subdivisions and the zoning. We are just saying right now, okay, we feel that there's enough merit here to consider it for historic designation. So let's punt it to the planning board and let them do what they do as far as making their recommendations.
I think that makes sense.
So in
Sean?
effect, we say, yes,
Yeah.
we'll agree
Yeah.
pending approval of
The planning
planning.
board.
Yeah.
board. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. The last item is the Northern Valley Fire Chiefs Parade on Sunday, October the 9th. And this
We
is,
should-
this is a really neat thing. They have this parade every year. It rotates among the towns of the Northern Valley. We last had this a number of years ago. I know Tony's not here.
Can we postpone till he comes?
Is he coming?
There's really nothing to discuss. If you recall, at budget time, we put aside a few extra dollars for this event, because is it our 100th or 100th anniversary?
125th.
And Tony was supposed to give us a breakdown on that budget.
1.5.
Okay, well, let's ask him for that, when he arrives, and if it's too late for the work session, Lizette, just put this on again for next week.
Yeah.
But,
There's nothing wrong with this.
It's not till October the 9th, but public be noticed that it's going to be a spectacular event. Bring your grandchildren.
I want to ride on the truck.
Okay,
I'll try.
we'll go to the administrator's report.
Okay, my link is also accompanied by the building report and the trail report from the Tenafly Nature Center that you can peruse at your leisure. We have kind of like a art history mystery here with regard to these paintings that the library has asked us to get involved with. I hope you had a chance to just read the
Yes,
overview.
interesting.
Yeah, we did.
It is very
Yeah, we did.
interesting. We're not really being asked to make a decision tonight. This is the first time that we're bringing it to you, but we wanted to give you as much information as possible. And then I think I would get back to the library and let them know that we need to have a formal discussion about it.
Can I ask a question about this, please?
Sure.
It seems to be such a valuable painting. My question is not as much as the insurance is, but can we secure it? I'm afraid that we don't have the
Well,
security.
that's part of the equation.
That's part of the
We have to
problem,
decide
yeah.
where, if and where we want to display it,
Yeah.
and if, part of that equation is, can it be protected?
Exactly.
Correct.
I would say the following. For example, this painting, which really doesn't have any historic significance, but it's a beautiful painting by Alice Rigney of Pfister's Pond. Harvey Dunn is a big part of our history here, and I'm not having seen the paintings, it's hard to advocate for something, but I would suggest we might want to find a place in Borough Hall to hang these pictures, but once again, contingent on the
Whatever,
fact
where
that
the most secure
I
part is.
worry about a lot of things as
Yeah.
far as security is concerned here. So
Yeah.
it would have to be protected.
I think an important note was that when the paintings were hung at the library, they were alarmed.
Yeah, something has to be done to that
And
effect.
we have brick walls which really don't lend themselves to that. They had them on.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we either take a look at them or at least get a picture of them, and then if we decide that there's some interest, then we
Oh,
can take it to the next
okay.
step.
Yeah.
There was a picture.
There's a picture at the
Yeah,
bottom.
there is there.
I'm
You
not
can't really
sure that I
see
can.
that.
I know.
I'm not an art connoisseur, but
Okay.
They really are
Yeah,
beautiful.
I think we should try to see if we can use them in town before we decide about the museum.
Agreed.
of course,
Yeah.
if we could
Agreed.
balance the
Yeah.
budget by selling them.
Yeah, Gina and I
Go for it,
actually
Pam.
walked around Borough Hall and looked for locations, and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of wall space. So
Too
it
many
either,
mayor's
it
portraits.
either didn't do just, I know, that's,
Maybe there needs to be a separate section for that.
No, we're not gonna get rid of that.
but yes,
I-
that's what gives us a shortage of space.
Jill, to make it easier, I will secure them in my home if you insure them for the history of the.
Thank you, Max,
Yeah.
we'll note that.
Okay.
Okay, the other things are a little less, I guess, provocative. We have the GIF Safety Award, which we did very well this year, $1,500, and as you know, that goes into a fund for the employees. We have several interesting updates with regard to the telephone system bid. I had hoped that maybe we would have the final feedback, but we don't as yet, but it is expected this week. So as you can see, the bids came in at the Board of Education. One vendor has been disqualified, primarily because they didn't have a specific certification that's required. as part of the grant that the Board of Education is receiving. And right now, the vendor that seems to have the best price, there were a couple of questions more that the attorney wanted to ask them. But the main thing is that the prices are well within the realm of our estimates, really, quite frankly, estimates that were provided to us by the board. So that's good news. And we'll keep you updated as soon as we get the information.
Jim, I'm sorry, Jewel, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm a little bit, see, we're looking over here for the Board of Ed to make a decision on April 5th and us to make by May. I don't think that we can make a separate decision. If we want to keep this integrated with the Board of Ed, which we want, and we want to take advantage of the pricing that they get because they have hundreds of sets and we have like 50, I think that there should be a common decision so we can basically take advantage. And the second part is, once they make a decision, they choose a system. We are not going to be able to choose another system because it's going to be very difficult to integrate.
They were separate, that's why they're going with one vendor, but they were separate portions. For
Yeah,
instance,
I
ours
understand.
is a separate addendum.
But once that decision is made,
Well,
for
it's
the
based on
vendor.
the lowest bidder.
But
Yeah.
are we separating it
It's-
for, because we want different equipment, or we're separating it from a timing perspective?
From a timing perspective.
That's all, it's just a timing
Yeah,
perspective.
so the
yeah.
same vendor that basically gets awarded will do both systems.
Correct.
Correct.
So then, the timing is, why is it this timing differential?
Because they're already prepared
They're ready
and
to
they
go.
already have their funds. Our funds are in our capital,
Okay.
which, if all goes well, as I said, we could award, the earliest that we could award is May 10th. But the board right now is very insistent that they need to start award on April 5th. And that's what a lot of what has been going on throughout the course of the month since they opened the bids, because their attorney was asked to give an
Yeah.
opinion as to whether or not they could be awarded at different times, and he came back with an opinion that they could.
It's just basically.
So
a
basically, the
timing.
award is gonna be done once for both of us.
Correct.
And we're just gonna do separate resolutions because of the funding of the timing.
Well, when you say separate resolutions, there's actually, there'll be separate project installations, but the board, as you can tell, is looking for the borough to join with it in a shared service agreement, which is what we typically do.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
when
brings
we
the
do a
price
joint
down.
project.
Yeah,
When are we
that's
gonna
right.
have, when are we gonna have that agreement?
They're looking at it for this week, but I
Okay.
believe that was probably contingent upon them being satisfied with the answers that they were awaiting from the vendor.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
Next.
Griffin Park, as you know, we have an application pending before Bergen County, Economic Development and Recreation, and there is a public hearing. Our application has been included on the list of prospective projects, so I'll be attending that on Monday, March 28th. It's an annual event, we go every year, and essentially it's an opportunity to meet the freeholders and to essentially thank them, because they have supported us
Yeah.
significantly.
And show that we have the interest to at least show up since they're giving us money.
Yes,
The
of course.
question, Jewel, so Griffin Park has been leveled for now. I mean, there's no equipment in all, but I believe we do have some equipment ready to be installed?
Yes, we do.
Would that be called the lower portion?
That's the lower
Okay.
portion.
So right
Right.
now, it's interesting, if you have an opportunity to pass by, all the people that normally go to Griffin Park and Froggy Park,
Park.
it gets pretty crowded, but it's, it's very enjoyable to see a whole bunch of toddlers running around. Froggy Park has come out exceptionally well. The equipment now is all in there, and it's very nice. So-
And we're getting free installation, which is very
That's
nice.
good.
The company is doing this in support of the ADA, assisting communities in meeting the ADA compliance.
Was that because we signed that deal in December before the end of the year, right?
Yes. Yes.
Christmas bonus.
And they carried it over, which was
And-
nice.
While we're on the subject of parks, I see it almost every Friday when there's good weather on a Friday afternoon. Take a ride by the municipal field. For some reason or other, as a rule, on Friday afternoons, there's no organized activities there. And like this past Friday, there must have been 50-plus kids in small groups playing various sports. It was just really like the playgrounds we used to have when we were
Yeah.
kids. It was just so, it was really a neat thing. I'm so, you know, I feel so strongly about the municipal field, the turf field, and on a Friday afternoon when it's not organized, it's really neat to see the kids out there.
The next one, the Bergen County Mobile Clerk's Office, Lizette, you wanna give an update? I've just given the basic facts.
Yes, so, they'll be coming over, on the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in May, the 10th to the 12th, and they will be bringing the equipment, they will be helping out with notaries to do the oath. They will be stationed here in the Wilson room because they're also doing the whole passport application renewal, and to take the photos, they need a certain shade of lighting, and if the council chambers is too dark, those pictures will be rejected and the application will be
They'll be in
rejected.
here?
They'll be in here,
Okay.
and it's from 10 to 2, and whatever, equipment they have, they'll either store it here or in my office.
We need to make sure that the Suburbanite and the New Orleans Valley Press have this, because it's of interest to the residents.
Oh, yeah, there'll be extensive publicity, the county does publicity. We're fortunate, our timing is such that we can have it in the newsletter, which goes to all of our residents.
I'm just
That's
waiting
good.
for a gentleman from the county to give me whatever the mock-up of their public notice will be about.
Okay.
It's actually very convenient.
And then the final update, as you know, you received a copy. Peter Punzi, Executive Director of the Tenafly Nature Center, made a copy of their most recent master plan available for our information.
Good, thank you, Jewel.
You're welcome.
Any question, oh, we can go to correspondence is next, I'm sorry. And the first letter is a request for an additional 90 days for the pod. Lisette, do you have any idea how long it's been there already?
No, I don't. I think they passed the original time frame, and then it was brought to their attention by the building department that they exceeded their time.
Okay, anybody have a problem with this?
No, it's fine.
The only question is, the way the letter is written is we want 90 days and then we're gonna notify you when you get done, and we kind of move or so. It's like, okay, this is 90 days, but we're gonna be asking for more, so somehow we're gonna have to say this is the final or whatever.
Well, what are you gonna do if they're not ready to move back into the
Okay.
house? They'll leave their
We could-
stuff on the driveway?
We could always say no, 91 days.
Yeah, we can, but our
We're not gonna do
our
that.
pattern
Right.
has been to accommodate
We
the
do 90.
residents unless there's an issue brought to our attention. Sometimes
Right.
neighbors complain, but not in
Why
this
don't you guys
case.
do 90, 90, 60? And then,
The next letter is from Anjek.
Yeah,
This just is to notify us, and kudos go to the Environmental Commission for, receiving this grant, and that money goes where, Jewel?
This one is for the Nature Center.
Goes to the nature.
just as a heads up, I think they're going for the environmental committee and the nature center will go for the same grant this year to expand their trails.
very good.
The southern side of the,
The next item is from the Borough of New Milford. It's a resolution opposing the Pension and Health Benefits Study Commission report. Jewel, do you have any comments on that?
This report has been reviewed extensively, even as last year at the league. There was a representative there trying to defend the report. I mean, they don't seem to change their minds no matter how explicitly people are able to point up all of the flaws in that report. It is just rife with flaws and misconceptions and just bad policy.
They're trying to balance the budget on our backs.
That's right.
Correct.
Basically what they do. We're not gonna fund, you're gonna fund them, and it's your business.
So would we like our, to do a resolution
I
in
think
support?
we
I
should,
think we
yes,
should, yes.
Absolutely.
Lisette,
And a
please.
very strong resolution, not one of those.
Lisette, no wishy-washy stuff. Very
Oh,
strong.
you know I'm not wishing.
Good, we like it that way.
is there a rule about cursing in resolutions?
I don't know if you folks have read in the paper about this, this amnesty,
Yeah.
policy, Franklin Lakes. In fact, the chief mentioned it to me about it the other day. And I believe, I would, if there's any interest in doing this, I would ask the chief to come in and give us his opinion.
I asked them to talk to their chief to get a sense of what the
Yeah.
program was, and I've heard back from, so whenever we hear back,
Would you folks like to get our chief to weigh in on this?
yeah.
My opinion will be, I'm not big into revenge and trying to punish people. They serve the time, there is a process. I understand that people like to kind of, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and then bury the people. But I think that this justice system is not made to revenge something, is to try to see if we can bring these people back to life. And so, well, it might be that I'm in the minority position. I'm not much into, let's make sure that the guy never comes out and sees the day of life.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure how much weight the courts will put on a resolution of
A
this
lot.
nature.
A lot.
I don't know. I think they're more interested in the people that were involved in the case than in us more.
No, I support this idea. I mean,
Yeah.
if someone's a drug addict, we shouldn't be putting them in prison.
Agreed.
They need treatment, so I support this, and I think we should have the chief here to discuss it with us.
Yes.
Well, we have to know what the program, I wanna know what the Franklin Lakes Chiefs program.
Right, so
I
we'll
Very
work
think
much
through
I
all that
can-
stuff.
Very
Yeah.
much in favor of that.
Yeah.
Once both
Yeah.
chiefs
Go ahead.
discuss it.
Well,
I think we're thinking the same thing.
you know, the
Yeah.
chief may have a policy in terms of enforcement, but local law enforcement, they don't, they can't change state criminal code.
Right.
So, although they can announce what they want their enforcement policy to be, they can't say that they're going to allow, they're going to overlook criminal acts.
We should.
So,
That's-
did you hear you read the Supreme Court decision
Yeah.
about what's going on with Colorado? I mean, in terms of, their states aren't responsible, they're not responsible, if Colorado's not responsible for what's going on with drugs in other nearby states, I mean, that's where we're moving to.
Well, that's
And I
true.
think this kind of keeps pushing it.
But we need action by the state legislature, because local governments can't, well, not under our criminal code structure, local governments can't change the state criminal code.
It's our request.
Well, keep in mind that this policy refers to users, not
Dealers.
distributors.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
addicts.
and the question becomes, what are the benefits of putting a user in jail versus requiring him, not getting him, but requiring him to get treatment?
Absolutely.
They're still going to go after the dealers. Of
course.
This
Of
has
course.
nothing to do with the dealers.
Yeah.
I
But
have a
it's the
question from
users.
Bill for that.
Yeah,
Is this against the criminal, what
Well,
is stated in the Franklin Lakes?
They can't say that we're going to overlook criminal violations, a violation that, but it's really a policy in terms of enforcement. The judge, assuming that the offense that comes before the local magistrate is something that he can hear. Because remember, certain drugs, an offense of possession, even or under the influence of certain types of drugs, require it to go to the county. It's outside of the jurisdiction of the local magistrate. So really, the only thing that you can have a policy on and change is those offenses that would come to the local magistrate. And of course, the local magistrate has to agree to it.
I have a
So if
follow-up question on that.
so I don't know that it's been tested, but
That's why-
I'm
that's why
familiar with this.
people
I live in
Yeah.
Franklin Lakes, and I have my doubts as to whether or not they can say, we're not going to prosecute someone that we know has committed this crime.
This is exactly what I said, because it says will not be charged with a crime, so we assume that somebody who declares that I'm an addict and then commits a crime.
Well, this is something
How
I
does
think
that
that falls
work
more
then?
into the lap of the police department
Yeah.
than the
Yeah.
judicial system. Somebody is taken into custody, for lack of a better terms, he's an addict, and rather than charging him, the policy is to require
okay.
him
To treat.
to go into treatment.
Absolutely.
Dan and then Mark, did you have
Do
something
the
to add?
same these same rules you just mentioned apply to minors? Crime, like if you're arrested with possession?
Well, minors are a totally different story because they come under juvenile court.
But keep in mind, there's a difference between
Yeah.
possession and addiction.
Addiction.
Somebody can have possession and not necessarily be an addict. But normally the people that are addicted have been caught more than once, and it's quite obvious. And the first thing they're gonna say is, I'm an addict, I can't help myself.
That's what I'm saying, is that
But
what
that's-
it's saying over here?
But that's something, that
The
is
next
what
one.
it's saying, but, you know,
Well, that's why I'm saying,
Let's-
bring in the police chief,
Yeah.
because he's got
Yeah.
more experience, he's
I just wanted-
dealing with these people for, he's only been a chief for a few years, so go back 10 years, he's on the street and knows about this stuff. Mark?
So, in my, last week, a 26-year-old former high school graduate, Tenafly, died
Quarterback.
of a drug overdose.
yeah.
And he was an addict, and anything we can do to move this whole concept of drugs into treatment as opposed to being a criminal problem, we need to encourage it.
Yeah.
Whether
I
the
agree
state
with
or the
that.
feds
I
agree with it
totally agree.
now isn't the issue.
Yeah, and I believe, if we believe that drug addiction is a medical issue, we do not charge cancer patients with criminal type of, and it's the same thing. We treat them, and this will be the same thing.
Well,
I think let's get the police chief.
Yeah.
I would,
That's why
True.
there's no.
I think we have a
Yeah,
consensus.
We
Yeah,
need,
we
we have
have
a
a
general
consensus.
consensus, we
So
don't
would
want
you
people punish,
ask
but we also
Chief
need to know
Chamberlain
we're
to
within
get a
the
sense
law.
of when it's convenient for him to come into a
Yeah.
work session? And get it to Lisette, please. And the last one, speaking of safe, there's a request for a resolution supporting a denial of parole for what was apparently a very vicious crime. Basically, when I was looking at this one, I said, I don't know how much weight the court will give resolutions from other towns. When, it's really more the victims and the people that were totally impacted by a crime of this sort. I mean, we certainly don't want to encourage this kind of activity, but do you want to send it? I mean, it's
Yeah, I think
it's not
we
that
should.
difficult.
I think
I-
we should,
I
it's such a
personally am
vicious
against.
crime.
So,
I might be in minority, but I'm against.
against sending a resolution or
Yes.
against?
Why?
Because what we're trying to do over here is use our emotions to basically punish somebody who was already punished by the law, and say, no, the law will take care of you, but I know better, I want you to be in jail forever. And it's an emotional issue, and they say revenge, when you do revenge, basically make sure you bury two people, yourself and the other. So that's my opinion.
Mark?
So, I'm not feeling vengeful, but he raped and murdered a 16-year-old girl, he should stay in prison.
I agree.
And so I think we should,
I don't think that's our
Support.
purview. I don't think that's our responsibility.
well,
I just don't.
our-
We shouldn't do it just basically because it has nothing to do with us.
Yes, trust the criminal system.
Basically, it has nothing to do with us.
Okay, then we can at least go on, if you feel, like I feel strongly about it, I'll go and sign the online petition.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. That's what you should do.
Not the borough can.
Not as a
But I'm
boss.
on your side, Mark,
course.
I agree with you.
Well, just quickly.
It's not revenge.
Just quickly, so you're against a council resolution?
No, I'm not.
You're in favor of
I'm
a
in
council?
She's
favor
in
of it.
favor.
I'm in
You're
favor
against
of
it?
it.
Against.
You're in favor of a resolution?
yes.
Paul?
Okay.
I would go for a resolution.
3, so you're against, so it's 3 against, I would support a resolution as well, so let's, with Lisette, you'll be all resolutioned out by the end of the meeting.
It's nice to have a vote once in a while.
I know, we had an actual vote.
Do we have any
And we
questions,
actually disagree.
do we have any questions about why that siren is going off?
Why is that siren going on?
It's a fire
That's
call.
a
Oh, it's a
fire call.
fire
Fire,
call.
I hope so, I
It's not
really
the,
do.
not the 12 noon.
Any questions on the resolutions?
Does that go off from mutual aid too?
Come on, Manny, can we do
Okay. Under for the good of the order, Shama, you mentioned the
Yes,
project graduation.
Full disclosure here, the lady who sent it to me is known to me personally, so she sent me this requesting if the council could support project graduation, which we all know is a very good program. The mayor and I spoke, I didn't know this, that's why I asked for it to be put here, that we do not support non-profits because where do we start and where do we end, and we don't have the funds for it.
Well, I wouldn't
So-
say that we don't support them, but we don't,
No, I mean,
don't
we cannot
donate.
donate money for
This
them.
would require taxpayer
Yeah.
dollars, and we don't do
We
that.
cannot give,
I would urge the members of the governing body who feel positive about this. I know I will donate to Project Graduation. I have a feeling Shama's going to as well. And anytime we get any of these solicitations, it's up to us as individuals to support them if we
So
can.
I will call her and I will let her know, and I hope you'll all support.
You all
as
understand what-
individuals.
Send
I
it.
would assume everybody here knows what Project Graduation is, and for
Yes.
those in the audience that might not, on graduation night, there's a committee that plans an activity. I would say most, if not all, of the graduates, after they go home and change and have dinner, they gather down the high school, get on a bus. None of them know where they're going, but it's a safe, rather than have kids go out and get drunk
Yeah.
or get high,
Me too.
it's a safe thing, and it's one last blast with all your high school friends, many of whom you may never see again. So it's a great
It's a great
activity,
activity.
and it's you never, like everything else, you never have enough money for it.
Put it in the newsletter and encourage, say
Well,
that in the
You know, once
council.
again, if we put this one in the newsletter,
Then
we gotta
which
put-
one do we
Yeah.
stop?
So-
See, this is what the
This is
problem.
well-
The
this
newsletter
is well
supposed to tell us
publicized.
what's going on.
Yeah. I have another issue with for the good of the order.
All right, make it good.
Make it very good. About a year ago, they resurfaced the street that I live on, Magnolia. And after like almost a year, the street has all the scratches and everything else back again. It seems that like the surface was either not baked or not completely finished, because the surface is extremely soft and it gets destroyed easily. I think that we should look at, this resurfacing. It's like they're missing an operation that it's completely silly. It's completely hardening.
What we missed is you had the borough engineer here. We should have, what we can do is
We'll
ask the
have them
borough
take a look
engineer,
at it.
take a
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, Max, I'm very discouraged over the, and it's not just our town.
Yeah.
But what's happened is the state lowered the standards for asphalt. We're
Ah.
required to go out to bid, lowest qualified bidder, providing the proper asphalt, and the asphalt is not as good as it used to be.
No, exactly. It's so
And
soft.
as a
It's-
result, look, my street also, which is a through street,
Yeah.
is ready to be repaired again, and it was just done about 5 years ago.
Exactly.
5 years.
What's
Queen Anne Road was only done 6 months ago, and it already
Yep.
looks worn.
Yeah.
And how do you think I felt this morning when I drive up East Clinton? East Clinton was done by the county last year, and United Water's digging a huge
Yes.
trench.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
You know,
that's a
it's-
different. But the quality of this surface is becoming a problem.
How,
Mhm.
Jewel, how does microsealing affect that? 'Cause it's a top, microseal goes up top, right?
Well, microsealing, yeah, and it's actually a different product.
Mhm.
We're having problems with streets that are being milled and paved.
And the
because
ones that are
standards have been lowered.
Microsurfacing is basically just a coating.
Yeah.
And what it does, you put it on a street that doesn't need to be milled, so it just gives it a few more years of life, and you do that because economically, it's inexpensive compared to repairing the
What
entire
newer
street.
streets are.
The milling and paving is having problems, and it's not just here, it's.
Yeah, I know.
Can't
It's
we
everywhere.
request a higher grade of asphalt?
In a bidding process?
Yeah.
Are we permitted to?
Sure.
I
We're
don't
permitted
know
to ask
what,
for everything.
I don't know how the grades work. I'd have to talk to Andy.
That's another question for the borough engineer, right?
Yeah, we are allowed to.
Well,
ask
believe
When they
me,
mill,
we
when they
have-
mill and
I-
repave, they're pulling up your old, they're adding new material and they're putting it back down again.
I've beaten our borough engineer to death on this one, because it drives me crazy. It really does. The amount of money that we spend and how we're falling behind, and it doesn't seem like, how do you catch up when the work
If
that
it
used to.
falls apart the next day.
Exactly.
So quick
You're
point.
next,
I'm
Paul.
sorry.
No,
Go ahead, one of you.
So,
I was just
in-
listening.
So in 1964, my parents and I moved to Maple Avenue in Teaneck, okay? And it's a concrete street. And I recently, for whatever reason, drove up the street. And it's 50 years later,
Like
and
new.
it's the same
Still.
concrete.
Yeah.
That road is so solid.
And
Well,
too
that-
expensive.
So what begs the question is, we had a concrete portion of, was it Howard Park Drive or Woodland Park Drive up at the very top? And we redid that street and then removed the I said, why are you removing
I
that
know.
concrete? But,
Yeah.
I don't know, well, concrete is obviously a lot more expensive than asphalt.
How long does it last, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cost effective at the end of the day. 50 years later?
But the
Anything
issue
else?
is- The issue is the real quality of the surface.
Right.
Anything
That's the
else?
issue.
And,
Slippery
you know,
too.
I don't know where we should go with this. Is this a state issue? Is it a county issue? Maybe we can ask the,
Ask the
Who
engineer.
has lowered the
I would tell you this,
standards?
when,
State?
when Senate President Sweeney was addressing the mayors. Everybody's talking about COA and all these other statewide issues. I brought up the asphalt in the streets, and he really got annoyed at me. He says, I'm a construction guy, I know what's going on, and he defended what the state has done with the asphalt.
He, of course, is gonna defend it, but that's.
But what I'm saying is, I don't know where to go with this, Max. I really don't.
Well, we're
really
gonna
know if there
we're
are
gonna get
grades.
the engineer. We're gonna find out if we can ask for a higher quality.
But don't forget, a higher quality is.
And
gonna
how
be
much
more
is the
expensive.
cost, and we're gonna make a decision. It's basically a decision that we have to make.
Anything else that's for the good of the order? That really wasn't too good. Okay. Don't forget, we have a closed
We have a
session.
quick
tonight.
closed session right in between.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to close the work session, and we'll go inside.
So moved.
No, we have a
We're
closed
going
session
to
in
closed
between.
session now.
Now.
Now?
Right,
Yes.
in between our work session and going in. So we have.
Why
Because
is
we
it
have to
in?
make a
Why?
decision that if it's okay, it
Oh,
has to be
okay.
done in.
Right, right, I'll
So
explain it.
we're gonna ask the audience to go into the big room. We'll be in there shortly. I don't expect
Very, very
this
short. Very,
topic
very
to
short.
take too long. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the Record, Suburbanite, and North Valley Press, and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. Salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we take attendance, I'd like to acknowledge two tragedies. One, an international tragedy that affects America. The other, a local tragedy, a young man taken from us way too soon, who had connections, graduated from Tenafly High School, and we lost him this week as well. So I'll ask everybody for a moment of silence in memory of those who were killed or injured in Belgium today, and for this young man from Alpine. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Barzalato?
Here.
Councilmember Bash?
Here.
Councilmember Hayter?
Here.
Councilmember Park?
Here.
Councilmember Stefanowitz?
Here.
Councilmember Zina?
Here.
Mayor Rustin?
Here. Revisions to the agenda, please.
We have one, we're adding resolution R 16136, right? That's with reference to the land litigation.
Okay. Who will read that? One said you?
That's going to new business.
Who will-
Yes.
You'll read it? Thank you. Public comments?
Wait, we have to do the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll entertain a motion to approve the following sets of minutes. March the 8th, the work session, and March the 8th, the regular meeting. Motion, please.
So moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Public comment? Anybody care to speak on any issues? Please. Down below, okay, that's fine. No, you broke.
Johanna Gambro, Ravine Road. I should have been consulted about that concrete because I do know something about it in repairing my own house. But anyway, what I came to speak about is something I've spoken about twice before, and I'm hoping that the third time is a charm. I came with a problem, and I came with a solution, a compromise solution. And the problem is that at the bottom of Hillside Avenue, there's 2-hour parking. And we all know that a car company in town uses those spots for their business. We know we've been through the other car company that used North Summit for their business, parking the cars on the street. The problem at the bottom of Hillside, for those of us who use that as our egress into town, is that it blocks the view of cars coming out of the BP station. It blocks the view of cars coming out of that particular dealer's lot. So you're going down the street, you don't see the cars coming out. The cars coming out don't see the people going down the street. And it makes the area where the traffic is too narrow to not be safe. It's not safe. And we know recently that there was a truck that plowed into a light post, knocked it over, and thank goodness nobody was hit. But that's why, because there's not, I use that every day, 2 or 3 times. And my neighbors do too. So my solution was that they shouldn't be able to abuse the 2-hour parking limit on either side. But my compromise was just ticket them for this, or ask them please, or take away those signs, not to use the side as you're going down the hill on the right side, because it's dangerous. And it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. Kids from school use the sidewalk going up and down the street. I watch them every day.
Joanna,
Yeah.
I think what we ought to do, first of all, I know the administrator's already written a note to ask the police chief to make sure that that area is enforced. I'm going to also suggest that he consider banning parking on the north side of Hillside.
Yes.
From County Road up to New Street. There should be no cars parked there at any time.
Yeah.
Because it is a visibility
It is.
situation, and it also is a safety issue for kids walking on that
It's definitely a
sidewalk.
safety issue.
So we'll look into that.
And I see kids every day, and I think, are we waiting for an accident? So I thank you, because this is my 3rd time to present this idea. I presented the same solution each time, so I hope maybe something's done. Thank you.
We'll ask the police chief for his opinion on that north side. But
Yeah.
the south side needs to be enforced. You're absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comments? Please.
This is when you're gonna lie. Gloria Lane, 64 North Lyle Avenue. I just want to thank each and every one of you on the council for supporting our requests for the senior citizens. I do believe that the senior citizens have not gotten their fair share during quite a number of years in Tenafly. And I especially want to thank Max, because when he became liaison, he really started pushing. Peter was there to support us, and I am assuming that all of you are supporting us and getting us the person that we want and the vehicle that we need. And I thank you very much for that. And I'll try to put this
You're very
together.
welcome, but
Back together.
you're very welcome. Keep in mind that the input from your committee, and I'm not suggesting you do it unilaterally, input from others, is we need a proposal.
Feedback.
You know I always make a splash.
We need a proposal from your committee as to how to allocate the van. And we also would like a job description, a recommendation for a job description for that part-time person. Those are the 2 things should be high on your agenda, because that's what we need
Which is
to
exactly what I'm
to
gonna
move
report
forward.
back.
Max will,
Okay.
report on that. But I just wanted to thank you all for your support.
You're welcome.
Because after 10 years on that committee, Peter, this is more than I've seen, move forward. So,
Well,
and I thank you.
we're headed in the right direction, hopefully. Any other additional public comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Barzalato?
Yes.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayter?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefanowitz?
Yes.
Councilmember Zina?
Yes.
Okay, next public hearing, ordinance 1605. Lisette, please.
The following ordinance published herewith was first read by title only on March 8, 2016, and posted on the bulletin board of the lobby of the Municipal Center Ordinance number 16-05, an ordinance amending Chapter 7, subsection 7-42.2 of the revised general code of the Borough of Tenafly regarding issuance of parking permits for the municipal parking lots.
Any public comment on this particular ordinance? I'll entertain a motion, please.
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 1605, that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Barzalato?
Yes.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayter?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefanowitz?
Yes.
Councilmember Zina?
Yes.
Old business? Under new business, introduction of ordinances. Shami, you want to read the first one?
Okay. I move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinances 16-06 and 16-07 and set the hearing for April 12, 2016 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter in the council chambers of the Tenafly Municipal Center.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lisette?
Ordinance number 16-06, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Ordinance number 16-07, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements by the Borough of Tenafly, appropriating $2,808,624 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2,407,000 of bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Barzalato?
Yes.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayter?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefanowitz?
Yes.
Councilmember Zina?
Yes.
Paul, you want to read the next one?
Sure. That is 07. I can't
No,
get,
the municipal budget.
16-135.
it's not opening for me.
Motion to adopt.
Oh, all right. Motion to adopt resolution 16-135 and setting April 19th, 2016 at 8:45 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard as the date and time as the council chambers at the Tenafly Municipal Center as the place for a hearing on the adoption of the 2016 municipal budget.
Motion? Second, please.
Second?
Lisette?
Councilmember Barzalato?
Yes.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayter?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefanowitz?
Yes.
Councilmember Zina?
Yes.
Okay, Lisette, you have 136?
Yes. Whereas the Borough of Tenafly is a defendant in certain litigation commenced by Scott and Lisa Lannon, which litigation is now pending in the United States District Court for the District of New Jersey under Civil Action Number 2:12-CV-02725-MCA-LDW, and whereas the parties to the litigation have arrived at a proposed settlement that will terminate the litigation without any admissions of liability on the part of the Borough of Tenafly, and whereas the borough attorney has been presented with final form of the settlement agreement, which is being presented for approval as to form and for authorization for the borough attorney to execute and file the same with the court after receipt of an executed copy from the plaintiffs. And whereas the settlement agreement being presented to the mayor and council incorporates all the terms of the settlement previously considered by the mayor and council. And whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly have determined that the settlement of this litigation, as proposed in the settlement agreement, will be in the best interest of the public because it would avoid the substantial cost of a trial. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly that upon receipt of a copy of the annexed settlement agreement executed by the plaintiffs Scott and Lisa Lannon, the borough attorney is authorized to execute and file the settlement agreement with the court on behalf of the borough of Tenafly. I need a motion to adopt resolution 16.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Barzalato?
Yes.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayter?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefanowitz?
Yes.
Councilmember Zina?
Yes.
Thank you. Committee reports.
Peter, just old business. Have we had a chance to do the resolution for the Port Authority yet?
Yes.
Yes? Was it read or no?
It was on
We-
the consent agenda?
We did that a few minutes ago, and it was sent to Senator Weinberg and the commissioners of the Port Authority. That was all taken care of.
Thank you. All right.
Was that, want to just shoot him a copy by email? Have a chance,
Thank you.
please, so you see it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Paul, you have any committee reports?
Yesterday, the Welcome Committee met. There wasn't quorum, so there was just a lot of chatting. But the major issue that came up is that they have an important opening that they need filled. The woman who is in charge of putting the sections together for the Welcome Book is moving. The group tends to help collate, but there's a woman who's in charge of putting all the sections, having it all ready, organizing it, and she's going to be moving in June.
Do
So
you have a
they're-
title for that job? Just kidding.
They actually say secretary.
But it's a volunteer.
It's a volunteer
Would you see me
position.
afterwards about that, please?
Sure, because
Okay.
they want to, put a little bit of focus on this, so possibly someone in town or someone watching on cable can come forth and
There's
help
people that I
out.
think are interested.
Excellent.
That's it? Matt,
That's
do you
it.
have anything, please?
Oh, yes, I had a lot of reports. First of all, the senior committee met last Monday, and I personally want to thank Gloria. She is basically a spokesman for the senior people, and she is creating a community-friendly town that where senior people can live, and the whole idea is that senior people will be together with all the other members of community according to the work that Gloria is doing. When we met over there, we discussed that a committee will be created, and it's going to be a joint committee between the senior center and the senior committee, and they will basically look at the use of the new bus that has been now approved in our budget, the schedule, the opportunities, who's going to be managing it, who's going to keep the schedule, who's going to approve special trips and so on, and we'll put together something that will be able to be presented to the mayor and council. Also, at the same time, they were looking and to finalize the first job description for the administrator nurse that we're looking to get into this town. And as soon as the job description is going to be finished, Gloria is going to present it to the entire committee, and it's going to present it to the administrator, so we can start advertising and looking for that position. And what's the senior center trustee meeting has been canceled because Julie is sick, so we're going to have another meeting, so she could not participate, so the meeting was canceled. The Board of Health met last Thursday, and the guest of honor was also Gloria, who presented her vision of how we're going to create a community-friendly senior town in Tenafly, and was extremely well received by the Board of Health, who had a lot of inputs. They were looking at creating some sort of a senior volunteer programs where senior people that have skills in math, history, and so teaching will create basically tutoring for the students, and also look at creating some sort of a board where the students will get credits by helping the senior people to create the mesh between the senior and the town to make sure that they are not by themselves as senior people. After the presentation was done by Gloria, there was a discussion with the HARP. Howard Bader, the president of the board, basically informed HARP that the vaccination program that they have today is not anymore something that can, it's according to the new laws, it's basically obsolete. By herself, Etta Frankel, who is Dr. Frankel, has contacted CVS, who contacted me, and the board has asked me to start coordinating.
Excuse me.
Yes.
We, the mayor and council, discussed this issue with CVS, and I thought we put it to bed.
Well, I don't think that we, the mayor, we discussed with CVS at all.
We decided that we weren't going to go in that direction.
I don't think so.
Well, you were at a different meeting than I was then.
Probably.
These things should not be done unilaterally.
Basically a decision of the Board of Health, and today you can get much better services from outside firms.
First of all, the Board of Health did not decide that HARP is obsolete.
Mr. Bader told the HARP that the actual program of vaccination that they provide today, it's obsolete, and they're going to have.
Who did he speak with?
Sorry?
Who did Mr. Bader speak with?
I'll tell you in a second. Just give me a second. It was the two people that were from HARP were Mark Alvarez and Ruby Pujols.
Ruby is not from HARP. Ruby is our health inspector.
Yeah, but she works for
Bergen
HARP.
Regional.
Yeah.
She does not work for HARP.
Mark Alvarez, I guess that's HARP. Anyhow, So by itself, Dr. Frankel has already contacted to basically find out which vaccination programs can be instituted by the board. Basically, they will cover not only the seniors, but will cover the entire population of the town and the entire.
We decided at a council meeting that we were going to continue with Park. We signed a 2-year contract with
Yeah.
them, and we agreed that we weren't going to be dealing with CVS. I don't understand where this is coming from.
Well, we didn't decide that.
Yes, that was decided.
No, we can ask the council if you don't mind.
I mean, we agreed to the 2-year agreement
Yeah,
again.
exactly. We agreed to the
So-
2-year agreement, but that doesn't mean that we cannot do something better for the town and get additional vaccinations. So that's.
But doesn't the current, so I'm a little, help me understand this. Doesn't the current program provide us all the vaccinations and
No.
we get reimbursed for all of them?
Yeah, so here's the program, so you understand. The program that we have with Fall Harp provides basic vaccination free of charge for the senior, and there is charge for flu vaccine for everybody else, a $10 charge if they get and they have that. The existing programs that can be provided by, and we have already a letter from Rite Aid and so, provide free vaccination for everybody that is covered by the insurance.
You have that letter with us, with you?
We'll receive it, I'll present it.
I'm sorry?
I'll present it to you when I get it fully certified.
Wait a second. You just made a statement.
That's
You
right.
have a letter from
You
Rite
have
Aid.
an email that I.
Do you have a letter? Yes or no?
We have an email that was presented to you, and you refused to let the people see.
That's not
from
true.
Maria. Yes, we do.
Maria Zylis told me that she did nothing, that all she did
Okay, let
was
me read
talk to the.
Let me read it, so we'll see what she said. Let me read the notice from Maria's office. Yeah, if that's what it is. But the idea is, because
Are you reading something from?
I'll get to the mail if I didn't know that I had to go and beam the letters back to you. Anyhow, so the Board of Health then asked me to coordinate between all this one and see what programs we can do that will be able to get vaccination for everybody in town.
That's not your job. You're not a member of the Board of Health.
They
You're
asked
a
me to-
liaison with the
Yeah,
Board of Health.
And they can ask me to do whatever they want.
No, that is
Yeah.
not within your realm of responsibility.
You know, here, Max,
Yes.
I think what we're missing the understanding of what, if we look at the definition of a liaison, what a liaison is supposed to do, it's to attend meetings, to listen,
Yeah.
not open any involvement, not say anything, and bring back to the council what was said at each individual meeting.
Which is exactly
Not-
what I'm doing.
That's it. You're not to make a decision for that
I'm
committee.
not making, I'm basically bringing back the decision of the board.
So, could I interject?
Yeah.
So I think, Max, to help us all understand, because
Yeah.
we're talking about some very detailed medical topics, kind of, we're talking about it instead of reading, perhaps if the Board of Health can put something together so that we can see in writing to
That's
understand.
exactly what I want to
So,
bring
but,
to
so
the
that
next, yeah.
we can understand what's going
I'll
on
bring
with
it to the next
CVS and
because
what we're
that's
currently
what-
doing in our
exactly.
current
Actually,
agreement.
I would recommend we do this even better.
Yeah.
Can we have the president of the Board of Health come to our next meeting and
Sure.
just to report to
Absolutely.
us?
To explain
I'll
to
ask
us,
Dr.
right.
Bader to
Because I'm
come.
confused about
Yeah.
Rite Aid
Right.
and CVS and
I'll ask Dr. Bader to come and see.
Lowe's
it.
Depot and.
If there's any correspondence between Rite Aid or CVS, it would be nice to have copies of it.
Rather
than
that's what
for
I'm
somebody
saying,
to say,
we're gonna bring that
"I've
back.
have a letter that nobody's seen.
You know, we'll
But
bring
I
that.
would like to add that, yes, the president of the Board of Health should come, but agreed with what Mark says, we should also have something in writing.
Exactly.
So we can follow along when he's
Yeah,
explaining.
exactly.
Very detailed.
I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong or what's being said is wrong, it's just, let's,
Yeah, you need
he said, she said.
We
it's not
know,
co-
we in agreement. I'm reporting, and as a matter of fact, the next thing that I have over here is that the letters were gonna be brought to you by the next meeting, which is a month from now.
Okay.
Okay, and there are other requests that the Board of Ed asked me to bring to you, but we'll discuss them at a different time. The Board of Health, I'm sorry, asked me to, but we'll discuss it at a different time.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. John, do you have anything?
Yes, I was at the Board of Adjustment meeting last night. The memorialization of the Lubavitch application did not take place because there was some information missing. So they discussed it, they voted on it, and now it will be memorialized eventually.
How did it turn out?
It had been approved previously,
Right.
but the actual writing of the document.
Got it,
there was
they
some-
didn't memorialize
It's
it.
wandering in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, whose yard it's in.
Yeah. There was an application from 7 Glenwood. They wanted several variances. They are putting a rear yard addition on the house. And there was a very long discussion, a lot of testimony. Neighbors came in support of it. And close vote, but it was approved. That's my report.
Good. You know, I understand there was a lot of back and forth, in which case there must have been compromises, and that's how it's supposed to work. I have a couple of things that I'd like to share with the council. First of all, I don't know if you've noticed, but today at Hyler Park, all of the bushes surrounding the monument were taken down, and it looks wonderful. You can actually see the monument now. There's going to be shrubbery replacing it around the monument, but low-level shrubbery, so that you can see the monument, and it really looks nice. Most likely next Wednesday, heads up, a number of the large trees in Hyler Park are going to be taken down because they're dying or diseased. Any of you that have spent time in Hyler Park, occasionally you have to duck as large branches are falling down. It's no longer safe. It's unfortunate. We will be replanting trees, but obviously you can't replant a tree the same size as the ones you take down. Second of all, I found out from TVAC Max that the back of the new ambulance has been submitted to one of the national magazines. I don't know which one. There's going to be a story in a national magazine about the way that our ambulance was decorated. It really looks kind of neat if you've seen it. Next, a week ago Saturday, there was an event at Stillman School that really, if you need a reason to be proud to live in Tenafly, a woman took it upon herself to put together a committee. Basically, the issue with a number of young people over the last few years has been invisible heart problems. People that have enlarged hearts, I'm talking about young people, or heart disease that is not easily detectable, because first of all, most young people don't get EKGs or get tested. And kids sometimes collapse during athletic events, or they collapse when they're just doing normal things and pass away. So what this woman did was create an event where they brought in cardiologists from Hackensack Hospital and Englewood Hospital and gave free EKGs to any children in Tenafly. And if the EKGs were slightly abnormal, and it was the judgment of the doctors there, they did echocardiograms at the same time. Wonderful. And they were beyond capacity. They were there at least 6 hours. The lady's name is Jennifer Yanowitz, and she did this on her own. And now there were other towns there observing, and you know, I should have made sure the Board of Health knew about this. I'll give you the information next.
Okay, good.
But they really did a great job, and like I said, I was proud to be part of, in Tenafly when we went down there to look at it. See if there's anything else. Yes. Tony, when is the meeting of the youth center?
It's actually tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. Is there anybody on the governing body that could attend the meeting of the Youth Services Committee? Tony can't
Planning
be.
board tomorrow night, so I can't.
I'll ask Mark to just give us a set of minutes, and that's it for me. Thank you. Tom?
It's in our packet for the fire chief requesting permission for the parade in October of this year. And the fire department is moving to make the plans to make that come to light, and of course is going to request the involvement of both the council as well as other agencies within the borough of Tenafly. This evening, the fire department just responded to a mutual aid in Englewood. That's what you heard the sirens go off. Yeah.
Two things, Tony. One is, we did discuss this briefly before you got here. Would you, at some point in time, give us a sense of, we put some money in the budget for this, how it's being allocated?
Yes.
And also,
I've requested.
is it their intent, does the parade go by past the firehouse?
Oh, absolutely.
So is there going to be something at the monument, at the memorial? Do you know?
No, at the memorial?
At the fireman.
No, that's a separate issue. This is just the parade they'll have the the county's, what do you call it, Dan? Their
Showmobile.
showmobile will be parked on the opposite side of the firehouse. That's that's where the reviewing stand will be. That's all.
Where, they usually start at Stillman School, where they go down.
You know what, I don't know the route.
In years past, it's
about a mile, a little over a mile long, so.
Yeah, we got a copy. I think
It's in the back of the memo.
Was it in?
there was a drawing with the.
Well, we're getting psyched about
Well,
it.
we got a lot of towns involved, so
Yeah,
should be a fun time. Thank you.
Mark?
The ad hoc committee for the community center visited its first site in Fort Lee last week. About 6 of us went over there. It was very interesting. More information to come. Next week, we're visiting the community center in Teaneck. And then after that, Secaucus. And so that's slowly moving forward.
You go as a committee as a whole?
Well,
As many people that could.
as many people can, whoever, because there's about 10 or 12 people on the committee, about 6 people went to the first one, because typically what happens, we have to go during the day, because that's when the employees of the other municipalities work, and then other committee members, if they want to go on the weekend or when their time is, they're free to tour it.
Excellent.
So,
Dan?
We met with CAP, or I met with CAP. There will be a discussion on another panel presentation on April 4th at 7 o'clock in the high school library. Last year's was pretty good. This year they have a doctor as their guest speaker, a pain management doctor. The environmental committee met. We are prepping for Earth Day festivals in Cresskill. This is the Northern Valley joint Earth Day celebration. It'll be at the Cresskill, behind the Cresskill Community Center, April 23rd in the morning. And that's it.
Mark, are you going to be visiting the Cresskill Community Center?
yes, we will.
Yes. Okay. I spoke to the mayor on other issues, and I brought up the community center. Very interesting. He said that they went out, and people asked why they did the steel building. But apparently the steel building, which at one time people didn't think you could build a steel building and have like a gym and stuff. There's, I think, 2 gyms in there. And they built that building, he said, I think for $1.8 million, much cheaper than if you use bricks and mortar.
Right.
It's very interesting.
It's interesting.
Okay, if nobody else has anything, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a safe trip home, folks. Thank you for joining us.